Hey, everybody, we're going to pass this around. If you put your card in it, we'll have a little drawing at the end for some Mi Casina gift cards. So anybody who's got. And now I'm going to have to get the Mi Casina to you because I went to my stack and it was gone. So I usually have 4 or 5 of them, and apparently the kids have been going to Mi Casina a lot.
All right.
So I promise I'll get it.
You want to come up for now?
Oh, okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let's get started. Let's welcome Mike from Advanced Inspection Services.
What do I do with this?
That's just for Zoom. It's a microphone. So you just.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right, guys. Raise your hand if you've ever had a deal go south because the inspector either did not convey the information properly or conveyed it in such a way that it scared your customers to death. Yeah. So at Advanced Inspection, we are not alarmists. We've been doing this for a long time. We know what is normal in Texas and what is out of the ordinary. And we try to convey the information to your customers in a way that is calm and I wouldn't say soothing, but I mean, as calm and as comfortable, as slow as we can. And that's a big key, is that I try to go very slow once it comes time to go over the report. I want your customer to be very comfortable with the information, or very comfortable that they think they know the information that was within the report properly. My name is Michael Martin. I'm the lead inspector and owner at Advanced Inspection. We have been in business for 39 years now. The company was started in San Antonio 39 years ago by my dad, who retired a couple of years ago. Then we expanded to Austin. He sold the San Antonio business, moved up here to Dallas to be nearer to the grandkids. That's when I took over. And now I am the owner and the lead inspector. Let's see. I am a certified ASHI inspector. ASHI is the American Society of Home Inspectors. It's a governing body over all of the inspectors in the United States. And certified is the highest level that you can attain within ASHI. I am one of the 9 certified ASHI inspectors in North Texas. I'm a proud 3rd generation Aggie. My son is a proud 4th generation Aggie, my older son. And then my younger son somehow graduated from UT. So black sheep, we don't talk about him. Now, sorry, Donna, I didn't mean anything personal. At Advanced Inspection, our goal is to inspect each house as if we were going to move into it. We depend on agent. Is that me? Oh, sorry. I was looking at him. So we depend on you guys for referrals. So we want your customer to be very happy that they know they got the information that they needed, that they got a thorough, complete home inspection. That looks better for you, which in turn you roll that over and you use this again. So we make sure that the customer knows what we have found. So I keep going back to that, but to me, I can do the best inspection in the world, but if I don't convey that information to your customer in a way that they can understand it, then I haven't really done the complete job. If I just hand them the report, it's going to be pretty scary, because we find a lot of stuff, but we always find stuff. And I want to go over that with them and tell them, we always find stuff. So, what separates Advanced Inspection from all the other inspection companies in North Texas? Number one, that certified ASHI thing. There are 2,700 inspectors in Texas. There are 26 that are certified ASHI in Texas. There are 9 in North Texas. I'm one of them. So it It's like having all the letters behind your name. It just means I've gone kind of above and beyond, taken some extra classes, taught some extra classes. Number two, we're not alarmists. We know what is routine in Texas, what is out of the ordinary, and we convey it as such. And then number three, we try to keep things calm, try to keep things simple. This is a very stressful time for your buyers. You know, they're keyed up, and the way we convey the information can either hurt or, I wouldn't say help, but it can hurt your, so. I use a tablet when I'm doing the inspection. So at the end of it, I will sit down and present the report on site exactly as they're going to see the report when they get home that night. And then I'll send them the report within an hour of my afternoon inspection, you know, within 5 hours of my morning inspection. Yeah, I take time to go over it. I want them to feel comfortable. My mom was a successful real estate agent in San Antonio for 100 years. My dad actually was one of the very first inspectors in Texas. He was, I think he was number 19. I'm number 2000 something, or no, I'm number 20,000 something. So dad was way back when you used to get like a 2-page report. So we would sit around the dinner table talking about real estate transactions. So that's what I grew up with. And we would love to be part of your team. That's really all I got. What questions?
They're great. They're great. I've used them and they're really awesome.
Yes.
Do you have a summary at the end?
Yes.
or-
Yeah.
Because I've seen all kinds.
Yes. Yeah. At the end of the report, you know, you'll have a 30-page report or whatever. And then the last couple of pages or the last page will be the summary. We are also certified to do wood destroying insect inspections. We're certified to do pools. I've got a guy who works for me, so we can usually get to you within a couple of days. With these short option periods now, you know, I don't know what I'm doing at the end of the week anymore. You know, used to be you would know, okay, yeah, I'm full until next Wednesday. Now, I mean, if y'all want, I could do it Wednesday afternoon.
How do we vote?
Just call me.
Call.
Call me or text me.
Okay.
I've got a couple of agents that they'll just text and say, when you're free. You know, so I'm pretty chill about that. What, did anybody have any inspection questions? Anything that's popped up that I can answer?
I'll just attest what Donna was saying. He does a great job. He's got great communication with your clients. He puts them at ease, lets them know what's serious, but also points out, you know, little things that they need to do on the home maintenance side of things. It really gives your client a complete overview of the home that they're buying, so that they have peace of mind to show up at the book.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
What are the things that bother prospective clients? Foundations.
Oh, yeah.
roofs, and things like that.
Yeah.
How do you treat those?
Well, when it comes to a foundation, rather than say, wow, you've got a terrible foundation, we just say, hey, we need to, you know, I would suggest we have this looked at by a structural engineer or just by an engineer. I would never recommend, hey, have a foundation company come out. I always say have an engineer come out. You know, the foundation is the biggest deal, you know. After the foundation, in my opinion, everything is negotiable, you know, but if you got a bad foundation, it kind of scares me. But I do say, hey, I've seen enough. And I kind of push that envelope to where I say, you know, I've seen enough where I would suggest getting an engineer out here to do measurements, because that's something we don't do, is the measurements. I'm thinking about it, but we're allowed to do it now. I just learned how to use it.
Your preference as an inspector, because I know the client's gonna do what they want. Do you prefer the client to show up at the beginning and stay with you the whole time, or ideally show up that last hour?
Show the last half hour is what I usually say. When I'm crawling up into the attic, I'll send them a text and say, hey, come a running. I've got about 30 minutes left. I want to concentrate on the house as much as I possibly can. And if they're there with me, even though I'll tell them, and I do get followed around occasionally, and I'll say, hey, look, when I walk into a room, I'm looking to my left. And you know, I'm walking, I'm checking outlets, but I'm looking to my left. There could be, you know, a party going on to my right. I'm not going to notice it because I really do want to be zoned in on the house so that I'm not going to miss anything. So I much prefer to be alone when I'm doing the house. Even, you know, if you've got a listing and you're just sitting there, we're going to be chatting because I'm very chatty. So
The sellers hang out.
Oh, it's super fun.
Tell you,
Yeah.
no, that's not leaking.
Right.
You
Well,
know what
it
you're
is.
talking about.
And they'll see me taking a picture and run over and say, "Oh, no, 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 we're fixing that." "Oh, are you?" "Well, it's staying in the report."
Yeah, let's get some duct tape, we'll fix it right now,
Yeah.
take it out.
Yeah. Well, you can fix that. It's just emitting carbon monoxide. Just. What other questions do we have? Did everybody put their card in the little basket that's roaming around? All right. And like I said, I don't have it yet, but I will. The Mixina gift card, Mrs. Lebo.
I know you've been doing it a while, because your domain name is realestateinspector.com.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that
to be
that
early-
got
early in the
way,
game to
that
get
was
that,
way
man.
back. Let me get you to pull. Oh. And
I'll let you call it out.
and Betty Goff. There we go. Okay.
All right, Betty, plan lunch tomorrow.
All right. One other thing. So I will send everybody an email this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon, just, reminding you who I am and also throwing in a discount for the next 3 inspections that I get from you guys. So I will get you, I'll bring it over here. I'll run to Mixina. Like I said, I don't. Actually, I gave the last one to another agent. So, all right, thank you. You'll get. All right, thank you guys. That's right. I almost stole your
Thank
thing.
you.
a lot of so 2008, 2009, Dodd-Frank gets involved. They set up all these legislations that made it so far. The market went to hell, and we all of a sudden had to put in all these safeguards to make sure that the appraiser is not being influenced. If the appraiser is being influenced, it's honestly more of their fault personally than anyone else's, because for me to be influenced means I have to admit you made me do something. You can sit here and meet me at the house. You can give me 700 comparables. You can tell me what the contract, I see the contract price. I know what it's selling for. You can tell me what you think it's worth. You can give me your CMA. Now, if you threaten me, we cross the line. So just by you giving me this information, you've done nothing wrong. Now, if you give me this information and I bypass everything that's relevant to use your information, well, it's on me. I've been influenced, but again, the influence is on me. So can you talk to the appraiser? Yes. Should you? Yes. Do you want to meet him at the house? Go for it. I don't care. You know what I mean? And again, a lot of appraisers are going to tell you, tell the seller to leave. That's cute. If they have that right, they don't have that right. It's the seller's house. They don't have to leave. The buyer can show up if they want. Well, the appraiser has no say if he shows up at the house. It's not their house. So kind of remember that. Again, your job is to act for your client's best interest. Do that. If that means that you and the buyer show up, so be it. Kind of like the inspector was saying, obviously let them do their job. I'm very, very focused on the house and I'll walk you through. I'd much rather have the conversation at the end. If you're going to kind of narrate me through the house and tell me that's a door and that's a wall and that's a window, I don't really need that kind of help. It's been long enough. I figured it out. But again, I do enjoy the conversation. And if I had one of my trainees with me, I will let them go do it. And you and I can talk all day. I'll have a better time doing that until you need me. So can you talk? Yes. Should we talk? Yes. That kind of takes me down to the appraisal packet. It's something that I'm a big advocate for. A lot of appraisers will tell you not to do it. I think they're wrong personally, and most of the appraisers who say that are either misinformed, again, very old school, who just don't want to talk to real estate agents. When I say appraisal packet, if anyone's taking a CE class from Candy Cook, she's NAR, DAR, she's an appraiser still. She does more realtor education. I highly endorse taking a CMA class if you have not. It's great information, and there's a good chance I honestly may pop in there here in Dallas and just stop it for an hour. So it's a great class. She talks about the appraisal packet. I'm also a big advocate of it. So it's just things that I think are very relevant for you to provide to the appraiser to help your client. So the lender provides us the sales contract. This is one that not a lot of appraisers agree with me, but provide the contract if you want to. The reason why I say that is a lot of lenders are pushing this, don't give all the attachments of the contract. Let's hold back certain pieces of information. So I'll get an 8-page contract, which I know the correct contract 8 pages, but I also know very rarely do I see an 8-page contract actually be the final contract. And then right before closing, usually the day of, the other 13 pages come flooding in, and I need to amend my report, we're closing today, and golly, we're at the table waiting for you, all hitting refresh, and then I'm on the other side of town, and it's not gonna happen. And I really don't want that to fall on me. The other thing is there's things in the contract that can sometimes be helpful, like, hey, we negotiated a new roof to be put on. Now, if I don't know that, I assume the roof is fine and pays the right. Or if I go out there and I see water stains, I see all this, I now have to tell the lender we need a roof inspection. Well, now to satisfy that requirement, it's not so quick and easy. All of a sudden, again, we're at the 11th hour, we're stressing to get closed. These transactions move faster than I like personally, but they move real fast. And because of that, I can do a little forecast. You tell me when I call you, hey, we scheduled the appointment for Tuesday. I'll have a new roof going on Wednesday. Let's change our appointment to Wednesday. We'll save the buyer $150 for a re-inspection fee. We'll save you the stress at closing. Let's just knock this out. I mean, one day is not going to mess up this deal, but the one day at the end will mess up the deal. So I'm big on wanting to know everything that's going on in the contract. I mean, I have to know it anyway. They're going to make me review it one way or another at the end. Surveys. I love surveys, especially in Dallas County. Dallas County is a digital plat map. No one really knows where those dimensions come from. If you compare them to surveys, you're going to notice they're very rarely right. So what I'm looking for is the site size there. I don't care if the deck got removed 2 years ago. I don't care if the shed got added 6 weeks ago. I'm not looking for that. The stuff like decks and sheds, I'm going to measure that when I'm there. I saw it. I don't need a survey to tell me it's there. But the lot size typically doesn't change unless obviously there was a transaction that sold some land off, which, that'd be good information to let me know. So I do want to see the survey again. I don't care if it's 40 years old. If it has dimensions on there, that's great. Again, Dallas is digital. Collin County is the best plat map that's out there. Tarrant County doesn't even have dimensions on it. Rockwall doesn't even have dimensions on it. So again, in high land value areas, take some of these super high-end luxury neighborhoods, land value is a big driving force. Give me a premium lot that has a lake frontage. That's the frontage is what sells it a lot of times, not the debt. So we want to make sure we know what those accurate dimensions are. List of updates, and I am going to make a big delineation here of updates versus curing of deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance is an appraiser term. I'm sure you all know what it means. But if you have replaced, if you repaired the foundation, you have not updated the house. You have cured a defect. The lender will not lend on a house. Most. There's an asterisk there with local lenders and hard money lenders and things, but most lenders, especially if going to Fannie Mae, HUD, or VA, is not going to lend on a house that has a failing foundation. So by fixing the foundation, you brought the property whole. So remember how you went negative, now we're at ground zero. Updates are things that take you above ground zero. We remodeled the kitchen, we remodeled the bathroom, you know, things of that nature. Kitchens and bathroom updates. I want to know the year they were done. I don't need 75 Home Depot receipts. But if you want to tell me the bathroom was remodeled in 2015, that's great, because Fannie Mae requires in the report that we tell them what the updates done in the last 1 year, 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10, so on and so forth. So that information is helpful to make sure their report's being more accurate. You know, the thing, I love little Excel lists that kind of just say, this was done this year, break it out. If you want to put dollar amounts, so be it, you know, especially if there's a, you're in an area like far north Dallas where, you know, they're $400,000 homes, they've got $200,000 are remodeling in, and they're selling for crazy, silly prices. That helps justify to the lender why there's been a gap, why that price moved. Because one of the things we have to do in the appraisal report as well is reconcile any prior sales. So if the property sold 3 years ago as a fixer-upper for 200 grand, I tell them. But I'm also giving them a report that says it's worth 500 grand today. But I'm also in my report going to tell them the market only went up 24% over that time. The math doesn't add up. So now we have to kind of say, hey, well, obviously they did all this improving, all these improvements, and it made the property more desirable. It made a different comp set, so on and so forth. HUD information. I think this is something that is horribly misreported on a lot of appraisal reports that I see, and it's really more relevant when you have a neighborhood. I love to use Windsong Ranch as a good baseline for this. It's obviously, they put that lagoon out there, everything went nuts, it's crazy, it's on the news all the time, every neighborhood's now trying to copy it around the metroplex. So you want to make sure if there's not a lot of good sales in that neighborhood, and your appraiser's going to have to go to another neighborhood because there's just nothing there, you really want to highlight what these common amenities are and why this is more desirable, why there may be marketability differences. It's just good information to have. So when I say that HUD information, most notably, what are the dues? Are they monthly, semi-annually, quarterly, how much they are, and then what amenities are there. Your CMA, I mean, you're obligated to do it. I mean, you have to do it. I mean, you're not doing it, you shouldn't. Again, you're obligated to. It's not bad information to share. Now, a lot of times, I'll tell you this in the CMA, you can tell an appraiser what you think something's worth, more so by showing them what it's not worth, than really go. Y'all, you give me a CMA that, you know, says price point 400 plus. I know what you did. I mean, you search for sales that supported your price, and you kind of backed our way into. You show me the house around the corner, say I got a contract price of 400. You show me the house around the corner sold for 390, but it's 500 square feet smaller. It's a dump. It doesn't have this premium lot. It corners the power lines. Well, I mean, you kind of just told me why it's worth more. I mean, and now I'm going to go start analyzing data. Say, well, that sold for 390. This seems semi-reasonable. Let me see what sales are out there. But again, you're doing it. It's great to have. Off-market sales. You want to get me annoyed real quickly and tell me the house around the corner sold for some number you're not sure about, and give me no address and give me nothing, but just tell me that the typical sale closed. It's great. If you can give me an address, somebody involved something, I will track it down. I've knocked on doors to verify sales before. So if it's good information, and the guys on my team are told to go do that. So it's good information. So structural repairs, whether they're needed, not needed. So you're going to list the property, you notice cracks, you notice the sloping floor, you went and had it looked at, the engineer came out and said, nope, nothing's needed. Let me know that. The cracks are there, I'm going to see them. So what happens is, I'm going to save you the hassle of paying for another engineer report by you showing this to me. Because now I can say, per this engineer, on this date, inspected the property, no repairs are needed, It's assumed that this is cosmetic in nature, and we can move on. Now, if the lender has additional concerns, they can do whatever the heck they want and ask for more documentation, but we might be able to avoid you spending $300, $400 for an engineer's report, you paying $150 for me to go through another reinspection and write more commentary. Again, you see how we start saving your buyer a little bit of money. Any kind of floor plans or sketches, what they apply. I don't want the old appraisal. What I want is county records is wrong a lot. County records are almost always wrong. Let me say that. And with that being said, I really want to make sure that we reconcile and allow you to have the information to go back to your client and say, gosh, this house was smaller than we thought, you know, and then kind of say, make sure, you know, I want you to know, and if I can give you the information, a lot of times I get a lot of my agent friends who say, hey, you know, gosh, I don't want to go back to the buyer and tell them that I goofed, like I made a mistake. If you didn't make a mistake, just rely on what's out there. So let me help you kind of reconcile that. Say, hey, this is set here, there's tax here, that's what we thought we knew, it measured here, this is what it is, what do you want to do going forward? Yes.
So let's say if the inspector comes down,
Yeah.
if you are expecting out for the tax for you, we should not be able to still use that report.
The inspector report is a little more of a split. I think most appraisers are going to prefer to see an engineer or, yeah. 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 I mean, the front end is even better. I mean, if it's been looked at before I got out there and you already know, hey, he's probably going to see these cracks, boom. I mean, actually one of the things in the appraisal packet front page, hey, we had it looked at, there are no point out for foundation problems. You can look at the crack and take all the pictures you want, but there's nothing needed to be done. And then I can move on quick and easy and keep it neat.
Come out and say the street, the special engineer should come out and say, I expect for that, so that inspector.
Yeah, or I mean, in the product, if you can, if timeline allows you to, it can be. Now, what's going to happen is you get the engineer out. More times that you're warned about an engineer, I think more times than not, it comes back and works needed. You know, an inspector is probably going to warn you when he thinks it's something more serious than typical. Most appraisers are going to do the same thing. So yeah, I mean, at that point, then you have an engineer report that you need to prepare. Now you have to disclose. So you kind of get that slippery slope. I mean, you got to kind of decide what you want to do there. I mean, I'm going to leave that to you. But as far as if you've had it looked at already, I definitely highly recommend you share that information if no repairs are needed. If repairs are needed, you're probably going to figure it out. They're going to recommend another inspection. But at that point, you should probably share it. Do you want to go out of your way and get an engineer's report done before the appraiser comes out? That's kind of an up to you. Whether you want to know that at that point, if your buyer care, if your buyer pushing, if you're getting it done, share it. But if you're not, maybe you can get it done. You have to get it done. So what kind of transitions? That's, you know, and then anything that you know. So I would say, as an agent, this is where y'all are super valuable. Is in the definition of market value. So this is the Fannie Mae definition of market value. So regardless of what we all think, if I ask y'all what the definition of market value is, you're probably all going to tell me what a buyer and seller are willing to do, which I 100% agree when we're throwing $100 bills on the table and we're actually paying with cash. When we actually want to borrow someone else's money, Fannie Mae dictates what the definition of market value is. So that definition is the most probable price that a property should bring in a competitive and open market under all conditions requisite for a fair sale. The big thing about that is probable. The market that we're in right now, where every sale becomes the highest and best next sale, the definition of Fannie Mae doesn't really want it. Again, the definition of Fannie Mae's definition of market value is all about assessing the collateral. So in the event that John Doe doesn't pay his mortgage, they want to liquidate and get their money back. So they want to know that they can get this back for what they lent for it. Ideally, you know, for all the expenses they're covering it. So at that point, Fannie Mae's not looking for that high. So this is a kind of the conflict with what's going on in the market right now versus what the definition wants. Because again, we're doing cash sales. I can use the different definition of market value. We can say buyer and seller agree. Here's comp to support it. Let's move on. It's not how the GSE side of the world works. Buyer and seller are each acting prudently, knowledgeably, and assuming the price is not affected by undue stimulus. The undue stimulus, honestly, I could probably say nothing's market value right now because there's so much stimulus in the market. It's scary, but the biggest thing is knowledgeably. I'm going to hit that word for a second. We'll come back to it. The next thing is, bottom down, about 2 bullet points down, is both parties are well informed, well advised, each acting to what he or she considers their best interest. To me, this basically says, use an agent. I mean, at this point, no buyer can go, you can go on Zillow all you want, you can go on Redfin, really, whatever. That's great. Y'all know what it is. I mean, they don't know what they think. They know they have more information than they've ever had before as far as buyers and sellers, but they don't know. So at that point, I do think the definition of market value actually kind of said that y'all are important. So again, at that point, do your service, provide these packets, be involved, meet the appraiser, talk to the appraiser. I mean, that's just big on my personal opinion there. But I kind of wanted to hit on that, the definition doesn't really play well to it being the highest. So that kind of leads into a couple of things I want to talk about is, do offers over list matter? One of the big questions I got recently, a lot over the last few months, I have my office kind of keep track of the questions we get the most, and that's one of them. Yes, they matter. Because you have 10 offers above list price of 500, does not mean it's going to appraise over that, but we have a range of values. So you're gonna grade your sales. You're gonna have 3, 4, 5, 6 sales in with it. The value is gonna range 300 to 350. So I mean, you can find out. That's kind of a silly number. 500 to 560. So at that point, you have sales that range 500 to 550. You tell me 10 sales went over list price. It gives me rationale and justification to reconcile at the higher end of the range. The market's hotter, supply and demand, list to sales price ratio, all this stuff should back that up. So we really want to make sure you're sharing that information. I don't need every page of every offer. I had one agent literally give me a binder that had something pages long, every offer, full pages. It was a lot to digest. A little Excel sheet that says offer 1, price, close date, what a closing cost is part of it, what an appraisal waiver part of it. Little Excel sheet with all the pertinent information in the order. That's super. Give me 15 lines of information. We'll analyze real quick. We'll see why you picked the offer that looked the best. I understand the highest offer is not always the best offer, and those that are consulting your clients that way are probably doing really, really well by them. It's obviously a lot of qualifying your buyers, appraisal waivers, and amount of cash and things like that to make sure you actually get to the closing line. It's really easy. I'm sure you all seen a lot of people who are just putting out broad nets of lots of offers to properties at once and kind of saying, hey, $100, option fee, what's the trust? You can snag my really high offer with low cash and no intent to close.
Do you need to first page of every offer?
If you want to put it in there, it's great verification source. I mean, at that point, if I have a question for it, I'll ask you. You know what I mean? If it's one of those, hey, you're going to give me 15 offers. But if one's at $1 million and the other 9 or had 800 to 825, we probably know what that one offer was. I may ask you if that's a real offer, just kind of my own knowledge. But again, I don't know that I need it unless it's really something I'm concerned about, and I'll ask you at that point. You do what's best as far, what keeps you within your ethical standard as far as your client confidentiality. So I don't want to ever tell you all to do anything you're not supposed to do. But I can ask for it. You can tell me about it.
I'm sorry, is there a magic number as to how many offers at like a certain price of it? Like, for example, my last one, I got 21 offers.
Yeah.
So you are the top 5 in that spreadsheet acceptable?
No, because I mean, what I want to look for, to be honest with you, is I almost rather, if you don't want to list all 25 out, you could say 5 or below list price, 5 are at list price, 15
Okay.
row. That's helpful to me because what I'm looking for is we're trying to track, and this will kind of tie into MLS and another giant pet peeve of mine is, and appraisers, we're analyzing data all the time. We're trying to figure, I get calls all the time, what does this do to price? What does this do to the market? And I can't answer some of these questions because you don't have good data to track it. Like, for instance, are appraisal waivers impacting what these properties close at? Well, the MLS, we've been trying to push CTAR and Metrotex to add this on there as searchable fields in the MLS. Well, it said, nope, not relevant. Don't think it's an important piece of information. So when you'll call me and say, hey, having an appraisal waiver, does that help increase the price? My answer is, I don't know. Because I can't track it, I can't analyze. There's no way to know, are they impacting pricing? Or are they impacting the acceptance rate offers? That's something you all have, and you can keep it in your book of business. But if I were able to say, hey, me and the 4 guys in my office, like, hey, we're looking at 20, 40 properties a month. I mean, we have hundreds of pieces of information a month through multiple brokerages and multiple lenders. I can tell you whether they're impacting, or are they increasing the speed of the deal? What is the percentage that actually closed? We can find out a lot more information and do a lot of better case studies, but we don't know that information. So that helps us do certain little things in our office. So it is very self-serving for what I'm trying to build as far as, data for our guys in our office. Should you be changing the list price in MLS after you go under contract? I see this one all the time, and y'all, it drives me insane. We're not trading that. I mean, I'm gonna tell you.
Pretty fast.
I'm gonna tell you, like my office manager, every sport order we get, one of the first, she has a checklist of 10 things she has to do, and in that checklist is print the history in MLS. I'm looking at it. It's in my work file. We're going to look at it. Okay, the sales price, the list price is $4.99, and then 2 days later went up to $5.50, and coincidentally, I have the contract for $5.50 on my desk. I know what we did. You know what I mean? Like now, again, this is a piece of information I want to track, and you're better to actually leave it at $4.99. I'm going to tell you why. I want to be able to tell you what list to sales price ratios are. I want to tell you that the typical property in McKinney sells 4.5% over list price. But when you change that number, it now records at 100% of list price. That's not indicative of what the market's doing. I know the market's going up. I know prices are going up. So let me have that data to record it so I can go back to the lender and say, hey, we have to make a positive market change adjustment on these comps that sold 3 months ago because the market's appreciating at a 1.5% per month rate. But if everything is showing that original list price, that list to sell price ratio doesn't show that. The market appreciation doesn't show that. So then all of a sudden, we might not be actually capturing what the market's doing. So again, I would let MLS tell the story as it really happened. Now I know that puts a lot of trust in that there are appraisers like me who are actually going to do the job and want to do this properly. And I know there are a lot of crappy appraisers out there. I've seen them. I've turned into the state myself. Honestly, I've employed some of them for a short period of time. I understand it. But at the end of the day, that conversation gets flipped around all the time. Where I can sit here and talk about every black sheep agent that y'all are embarrassed about and say, you know, look at that. So at the end of the day, let's let the market tell the story. But that's a big one that I'm not a giant fan of, to be honest with you. Reconsideration of values. So here you go. And again, a lot of my peers hate that I talk about this, but I honestly think it's important. So, contract price is $5.50. Knucklehead appraiser, not me, because I don't talk about me. I'll talk about somebody else. He comes in at $5.20 and he messed your deal. You're all mad at him. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. He drove in from Weatherford to Greenville, and you know all the fun stories we ever heard. So we'll kind of circle back to who the client was. Remember, the client was a lender. So as far as asking for reconsideration value, we have to remember what our role is in the transaction. So if you're the listing agent, this is harder to do. But then again, you're about 5 degrees removed. You know, you have the listing agent, the selling agent, the buyer, the lender, then the appraiser. So that's 4 levels of force fields there. So you have to have everybody on board when they want to do the reconsideration of value. The reconsideration of value gatekeeper is the lender. It has to go to the lender. The lender has to want it. I cannot tell you how many times I get, you know, agents, especially friends of mine, who say, hey, we're going to be sending you an ROV. We think you messed this one up. Great. I'll look for it. And then I call the lender back 2 days later and say, hey, you know, such and such, they're going to call me and send the reconsideration over what information they said. Oh, we're not going to send it to you. Why? We're good with the value. We don't want anything to change. We're just going to let the buyer make a decision. You have to understand that that's the lender's prerogative if they want to. Because the lender just says, no, we don't really want to change the value. We feel really strong this is the right number. The flip side of that is you can do the reconsideration. The value can then get increased from $5.20 to $5.50 because your appraiser says, gosh, those are 2 off-market sales I didn't know about. You gave me the closing disclosure. They're super great sales. Let me change the value. And the lender takes it, and the underwriter looks at it, and the underwriter says, gosh, I don't like it. And the underwriter comes to that. One of those big things that most people don't realize is the underwriter can change the value. Not on the report, but the underwriter can determine, we think this appraisal is too high. The flip side is the underwriter can say this appraisal is too low. Like VA, for instance. The SAR, I believe, can go up to 6% over appraised value should they feel there's reason, or that the veteran really, you know, this is the nature of their break, you know, the veteran getting the home. VA is a little bit different because VA is all about veterans getting home ownership. It's meant to be an advocate position. It's not meant to be a for-profit type lending thing. Obviously, there are some, you know, that can be debated. But the mission behind the VA is to get the veterans into home. So I say all that to remember who the client is. So when you do this reconsideration of value, you have to remember how to go to the lender, circle with the appraiser, let them know it's coming. But again, at the end of the day, you can only get it so far. What information is relevant? You know, so again, I would say, you know, this is the last chance to make your case, but again, this is for color. And I think that this is something appraisers don't tell agents enough. This is where I was circling back before about the definition of market value. I will appraise more homes than y'all do. Y'all will look at far more homes than I ever look at. I'm going to go through every appraisal I do, I go through one. For every buyer that you have to buy a house, you went through dozens, hundreds, I have working your tails off to try to find, houses for people. So with that being said, a lot of the times the comp I put in my report, you walk in, you client looked at them, client made an offer perhaps. So I have the great MLS pictures that were done by a fantastic photographer and virtually staged, this, that, the next thing. But you're the one who walked in the house of your buyer and knows why your buyer didn't offer on that. Or that your buyer did offer on that house and why they offered low, because honestly, it smelled like cat, or the floor rolled 4 feet to the left, or, honestly, we don't realize that water tower in the back isn't as far as it looks. It's like there's a shadow over the house, or whatever the story may be, but you have color that I don't have. Because I look at an aerial map, I'll drive down the street, I'll look at MLS pictures, but aside from that, I can't ask somebody who bought their house 3 months ago, can I come walk through it? I don't want to use it as a comp, but can you tell me what that 3 months ago? It's a really weird position to be in, and evaluation's a little bit inefficient that way. So, let me know. And but again, appraisals are opinions. The opinion of value based on a lot of analysis and public information. So from that, you need to remember, I'm a little bit of a unicorn as far as appraisers go. Your typical appraiser is going to be probably near double my age, probably far more arrogant, although I have my moments. And then likely a little bit more jaded and not so welcoming to your opinion. So if you're critiquing someone's opinion, understand that. So tonality in the reconsideration of values, it can be make or break. You go tell somebody who's professional opinion out there, they're wrong. And again, I feel like I'm talking to my 8-year-old son. I tell all this, like, honestly, you really have to be aware of your person's feelings. It's really silly. But at that point, write the reconsideration in a tone where I'm not telling you orally goofed on this one, but I want to tell you it's something you might have not known because I'm such a great professional and I do all these things. Would this change your opinion if you knew this? So kind of think of that tonality of it. So again, close sales. I know listings and pendings are far easier to use a lot of times because the market's going upward at all times, but you want to really be mindful of the Fannie Mae definition and the Fannie Mae requirements of property. You have to have at least 3 sales in the report that support value. So you have a bracketing principle, so one should be a little bit higher, one should be a little bit lower, one should be close. So you might want to think about that when you do your CMA. You have to have at least 3 sales, they need to be closed. There's no 1 mile parameter. Anyone who tells you that lying to you is great. You love to have sales. The closer the better. But there's no wall that stops at 1 mile and we can't go to the next street because it's 1.1 miles away. It's silly. And like that being said, it also doesn't mean you have to do it in 90 days because 91 days doesn't make a difference, or 92 or 89. Y'all are smart, y'all can figure that out. So you want the most relevant sales, the ones that are locationally most similar. The biggest thing I'm gonna tell you, location. Quality and condition. So buyers don't go look at $200,000 homes, and I'm sure they'd love to let you do it, but they never think it's a $1.5 million home. They're not buying it, they just want to go see it because it looks nice, but you understand, like, buyers who look at $200,000 homes don't look at 1.5 million. They also, buyers who are buying at 7,000 square feet don't look at homes that are 1,500 square feet. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that they make sense on quality, condition, size, vintage, and location. To me, those are the fantastic 5 right there as far as what is going to be the most important thing. Bedrooms, bathrooms, garage bays, porches, patios, decks, you name it. Yeah, they're important and they matter, but they're down the list. So focus on those. Like, too often I get we picked this one because it has, the same bath count as it. It's 4 miles away in a different neighborhood. It's a different builder and it's 15 years older, but it's a great sale. It's like, location's the biggest one. So I will also say this: price per square foot is not a valuation method. I use price per square foot to prove a lot of information. I use it for data collection. I use it for a lot of analysis. But price per square foot is not a valuation. So when you go and say, hey, the house on the block sold for $242 a square foot, that's great. Now what? So we just got to be mindful of that, because most appraisers are going to say, the minute you say price per square foot, they're going to deflect and say, oh, that's it, we're done. I don't have to do anything now because you do the one thing that doesn't matter. But you say, hey, the house on the block sold for $550. We're in the contract for $560. We're more recent, we're a bigger lot, bigger house, this makes sense. That makes the appraiser pause and say, they might actually have something. I'll be honest with you, I've been doing 20, now that I do the math, over 21 years. I've changed appraisal reports. I've changed appraisal reports this year. Our reconsideration. Again, I'm human. Every appraiser is. You know, there are some computers out there that do it. But at the end of the day, information comes to light that you may not have. Something gets pointed out that you may have not known. So don't take this as, you know, I hear all the time, I'm not going to do the ROV, what's the point? Appraisers have to change tomorrow. And 90% of the time, 99% of the time, probably. But if your deal is the one, why not? So again, you're the expert, just your time to shine, lens, color. I will tell you this is stay in your lane on these. A lot of appraisers, education is more readily available than any of us ever needed before. Over here, we go on any Zoom class, this stuff all the time. Appraisers are also getting more educated on the technical occupation, what an agent is and is not allowed to do, and the power of calling their broker and all that. So same idea where, again, agents are getting very informed, is also turning in appraisers and things of that nature. So everybody stay in their lane and make sure we're not speaking out of turn. Just a lot of times in reconsiderations, this is where the times that agents do cross the line, from my personal experience, as far as I've only been attempted bribed twice. One time with cash, envelope of cash. The other one, just we'll get you a million appraisal orders if you make this one work. And then, but more times than not, it's at the end when the fear of, oh gosh, this isn't going to get where I wanted it to go, that some agent will cross that ethical line, wanting to threaten to turn you in even though they have no ground, things of that nature. So again, that's not going to get you anywhere. So you really want to be mindful of, handling that the right way. Let's see here.
And with, you said location,
Mhm.
that there's no like mile, marker or whatever.
So look.
So is there a certain distance that you go, okay, that's like 3.5 miles away, that's too far?
There's no clear-cut rule. So I'll tell you this. If you're in a planned development, you're in a normal Collin County subdivision, you better run the subdivision first. That's what every appraiser is going to be trained to do. So if you're Windsong Ranch, you better search Windsong Ranch. And if there are 85 sales in Windsong Ranch, and then you go to maybe your next subdivision, you better answer the biggest question, which is why. Like, why did I go there versus here? Well, nothing in Windsong Ranch within 500 square feet of my house sold in the last 100 days or 150, or that's a rational reason to say, you know what, like, location is important, but current market conditions are just as important right now because the market's moving day by day. So as long as you have rationale for why you're making that, there's no rule. When you get into, you have urban, suburban, and rural as far as in the world of appraising. So urban, kind of think your Dallas Center, your Dallas Central Business District. Dallas is for the most part pretty urban. So you kind of, that's where the 1 mile rule used to be. It used to be an old underwriting rule of, hey, if they're urban, it can't be over a mile because there's no reason to. There are hundreds and thousands of homes within a mile. Suburban was that 1 to 5 mile range, and then rural was 5 miles plus. You get a rural property out in Van Alstyne, it probably can go 40 miles if that's where the next sale is. Just, if you have a 20-acre ranch, that's what it is. There's nowhere else to go. So I hate giving hard and fast rules. Just kind of use common sense there of like, hey, let me start with the subdivision, and we're sitting in the border of Dallas and Collin over here. So most of these are subdivisions for the most part. Start there. Then after subdivisions, be really mindful of school districts. Especially in areas that are being driven by the school district. I'm big on analyzing elementary schools. I feel, we've learned in our office, elementary schools are far more driving factors typically than middle schools or high schools. It's a lot of times what we worry about the most is our youngest kids, and that's where everybody is. So you want to be mindful of that. And again, but then again, it may not matter. There are certain neighborhoods where it matters, like when I'm in Lakewood, the east side of Abrams, the west side of Abrams. And the world changes for some reason. Although you look at them and same houses, like same builders and everything, but there's a significant price difference on the Lakewood Elementary side and what used to be Stonewall and Robert E. or now, whatever. So you want to be mindful of that. The location is just, and then also geographical boundaries. So let's see George Bush, right? If you're here and it's city of Richardson, Plano schools, and this big highway. And then it changes to city of Plano school on the other side. This geographical boundary may have had a big reason. You'll notice that a lot of times school district boundaries follow really big busy roads, they follow city lines. So you want to kind of look at that type of stuff. So what causes the market to change and where is that? It can be for certain neighborhoods a mile, for certain neighborhoods 2.5 miles, sometimes even more. It really It's market by market, market segment by market. You go into a certain neighborhood, you have the biggest, baddest house in the neighborhood. It's an awful place to be in, but you have that house that's 5,000 square feet and every house is 3,000. Well, where, if a buyer needed a 5,000 square foot house, where do they go next? What is most reasonable? What's the nearest? What's the most comparable? Because the nearest may not always be comparable. The nearest may just be the nearest. You may find out, oh, that was a DR Fort built neighborhood, was built by Highland, and these are far superior homes. I can't compare those two. So where was the next Highland neighborhood? And that may be 3.5 miles. So again, just use judgment there. Is my biggest thing I'll say. But kind of be mindful of some, those underwriting rules. Again, if you're in an urban area, you got to have really good reasons on that.
With regards to schools, like in neighborhoods where it's two different school districts, so Woodbridge is Garland ISD, Woodbridge ISD. And sometimes you end up with your house is considerably nicer, but similar age and size as, recent sold comps, but the comps are better and better for you and your price to pull some from the Wiley ISD. Is that acceptable?
Sometimes, maybe, no, yes. Yeah. But I'm going to give you a completely evasive non-answer. I'm going to follow up.
Okay.
So there's something called group pair sales or group data, some appraisers will call it. So now, Woodbridge is a great example because you have, obviously, the Saxon side is a little bit more, the pockets are a lot older and original. The Wiley side a little bit newer because that was built later. But again, there was still construction on both sides. Plus, you have the side north of 78 that was newer and also Saxy over there. So you now have the ability to say, okay, let me run comparable properties. And I say comparable, whatever your set you pick it equally for both of these runs. You're going to do, let's say you have a 3,000 square foot, 2010 built house. So let's run 2,500 to 3,500 square feet. Let's run 1990 to 2010. Let's go 10 years each way. And let's see how many sold in the Saxy side. Just run Saxy ISD Woodbridge and then run Wiley ISD Woodbridge. And this is where price per square foot can actually be used. Because now you look at it and say, hey, on the Saxy side, they're selling I'm going to go random numbers, $162 per foot. Don't verify that. I don't know if the number's right. I didn't figure that out. But on the Wiley side, it's $163.50. That dollar is not immeasurable. So you can go back to the appraiser and say, I did my analysis, or in your packet or in your CMA, I researched it. There was no marketable difference. The median price was $400 here. The median price was $403 here. They compete. Buyers come over to Woodbridge because they want to be in Woodbridge. They're not coming over here looking at school districts. Now, one person might like Wiley because they're, their buddies, best friends over there. Everybody has their own reasons they like whatever. But at the end of the day, what does the whole market do? What versus that one particular person? Flip side. It's $150 square foot here. It's $175 over there. Well, now you have to really ask yourself, do buyers really compare it? But group data is a great way to do for locational reasons like that, school districts. It's great to do with pools. Pools come up all the time. So you want to say, hey, what's the pool worth? I've had adjustments to pools at $0. I've had adjustments to pool for $175,000 in the last 2 years. Kind of keep that little bit off. So it's all over the place. You know what I mean? And it goes to different neighborhoods. Obviously, $175,000 is not in a $200,000 neighborhood. So you want to do group pairs is always a great thing because you're doing consistently against all things equal. The only difference of pool. The only difference is Wiley ISD versus Saxon ISD. So yeah, you can cross the line. What you want to make sure is if you do cross the line and you say you still need 1 or 2 sales in your run that are within Saxon to prove that. Because if you say all things are equal, but my 5 comps in my CMA are all Wiley, and I didn't use any of Saxy, but there's 5 sales in Saxy that I'm going to find, we got to start really wondering why didn't you use those. So as appraisers, I think appraisers are pessimists by nature. So what they'll start to do is, okay, why'd you skip these? Why'd you overlook these? And then they'll start hunting to find the reason to justify why those are better. Versus let me just look at all the data, you know what I mean? Because this is where CMAs can sometimes be hurtful. You want to make sure you're doing them right. That's why I kind of always recommend that class. Or if I can ever be a help, reach out to me. I love helping on CMAs if I can. But yeah, hold on.
So in terms of difference in age of houses, because I did take Candy's class and it was awesome, but I literally came out a little more confused than I was going in.
Sadly, it's one that you have to probably take a couple times, which is easy for me to say, but yeah.
So where do y'all, because we're told to do it a certain way,
Mhm.
right? And we do try to stick to those guidelines because we want our value to be what your value is gonna be,
Yeah.
obviously. But is there like, she had said, we were told, within 1 to 5 years.
Mhm.
And so I, would try to stick to that, but then someone asked that in class that day and they had, a 10, 12, 15-year, and she was like, oh yeah, that doesn't matter, the age of the house. Well, should we depreciate some? Is there some kind of guideline?
So I disagree with Candy on this one. So this is one where I'll flip it back to you.
Okay,
Yeah, so let's say it's 1 year buyer's age, right? What would your buyer willing to look at? Would your buyer willing to go 10 years?
Yeah.
They're willing to go 15?
yes,
That's the answer to your question right there. So you have, with age, you have two different components. You have the actual age of the house. If it's built in 2000, it's 2021, it's 21 years old. But that house had a renovated kitchen in 2018. Is that house really 21 years old? No, it probably has an effective age of 10, 11, 12, 15. There's no perfect way to know that. So, like I have tools that we use, effective age calculators that some of our guys try to figure out, hey, the typical life expectancy of a house is 70 years at this quality point. And then if it's been renovated, you extend that life. So if you think about it, is based on a 70-year life, every home that was built in 1950 should be basically obsolete. And that's ridiculous because we did improvements. We shortened the effective age by then protracting that total economic age there. So you want to kind of be mindful of that. So I would kind of use this a little bit to, new construction, kind of think of a new car, like it drives up a lot, it's pre-owned, you need pre-owned stuff and so forth at that price. So, you don't want to like cross that line, even though it may be a 2 or 3 year difference. Sometimes you have to think, when I say all that, and I put the other side of my mouth in a second, is, I'm good at that, but it's how appraisers can bother you. But you kind of want to make sure that pre-owned is compared to pre-owned, new is compared to new, and then you cross over later. Right now, I think we're seeing with the builders not being able to build nearly as fast enough that's kind of changing. Buyers are what's available today, what can I get? And I've seen prices of pre-owned that are actually going above new construction because it's available today versus me having to wait 9 months for the builder is going to try to squeeze me out of this contract as the transaction goes on because I can sell for more later. But yeah, so the age thing is, again, be mindful of what, and then I think that again, when I say before, then color, is I showed my buyer 45 different properties they wanted to go see, and we were looking at things built from 1999 to 2015. So for us, that was a wide enough range of reasonable. Will a buyer go all the way down to 1975? Maybe not. And then it's where they want to be. You go into, again, Woodbridge, you're not going to find a 1975 building. They don't exist. So Woodbridge, this is what the neighborhood is. Woodbridge is built from 2000, 2005, somewhere in that window, all the way up to still building. So you have a 20-year window. So with a buyer who built in 2017, would look at the one who built in 2007, potentially. It all depends on what it looks like on the inside too. Patient preference changes, So all of a sudden, if it's not white subway tile and gray countertops and all that, then the early Woodbridge stuff is very dark and pine and all that. It also changes, and it wouldn't. You have to kind of think about that. Then you can easily say coat of paint cabinets. I've got a painter for you. We'll solve that problem for you. So yeah, age is a weird one. Age, as far as Fannie Mae goes, Fannie Mae has these Q and C ratings. So you might see these in the report, like Q1, Q2, Q5, whatever, C1, Q2, Q5. So I'll tell you that the condition ratings are the ones you need to worry more about. C1 is a brand new car. It's on the lot, it's at the dealership, it's shiny, it hasn't been titled, it's beauty, brand spanking new. C2, you drove it out, you own it, it's now pre-owned. The other thing that C2 can be, that's the easy oversimplification, the other part that C2 can be is that house was built in 1930s, they took it down to the foundation, only one stud stays, and they built a basically brand new house. The house age stays with the foundation, but that's a C2 as well. That's basically a 99% new house, but some elements are going to remain. C3, C4, that is the majority of real estate. That's a 90% of properties any of us will walk into. So C3 is updated, renovated, less than 10 years. Probably 5 to 15. It could be anywhere. So think of C3 as well-maintained homes, updated, older homes, just nice houses. C4, well-maintained houses, some updates, some cosmetics, maybe 15, 20 years old, but nothing wrong with it. Not a piece of deferred maintenance with a nice, super well-maintained house. But I like to say average. It's a typical house. C5, it's below average. C5 is a house, gosh, I feel a little weird here. You know, I don't like this house. I want to get out of here, you know? And then C6 is, oh, I'm running. This thing's scary as hell. It's going to fall down. Get me out of here. And honestly, at that point, I mean, and I was kind of say, you'll know a C6 when you see a C6. It doesn't. And the Q rate, Q1, again, it is the best. It's that stuff you read in the blogs, you know, the $50 million house that's built on the side of a hill in both sides. Not a lot of those in Dallas. There's a few. Q2 is the nicest house in Dallas. You know, you go a hollow way, you go straight. Some of those, you know, super high end. You see a bunch of College County being built now in some of these, you know, luxury areas. Q3, again, you're above average house. You're really nice house. Q4, average. Q5, above average. Q6, and probably held together by duct tape and foam. They don't really mean anything to y'all, to be honest with you. And it's a big thing of reconsideration of values that we'll get. Oh, he called it a Q4. This is blatantly a Q3. A, how do you know? B, what does it matter? Because if all four of my comps are in the same Q rating, it doesn't matter. You know, the appraiser could mislabel the Q rating. As long as all comps are truly still comparable, did it really matter? Did it really impact the results? So I don't really worry about those too much. But again, this is where you do reconsideration of value. And I get these calls a lot, and I do help people. And these, again, I make them enemies because of it. When there are bad appraisers out there, I highly recommend you do this, and I'll help you do it. If it's really, really bad, I will sit there and tell you, that's not a C2, that's a C3, you missed it, that. And then we'll chip away credibility to report if it's bad, and give you the ammunition and say, hey, I want to get a new appraisal order because this guy goofed, or B, he needs to fix it. And if it's bad, I have no problem helping because at the end of the day, it doesn't make me look good if it's other people are bad. Yes.
So you're talking about foundation.
Mhm.
One issue we're having in Rowlett is homes that were not affected by a tornado being compared to homes that were affected by the tornado and being compared one-to-one with tornadoes being upgraded.
Yeah.
And
So
not being-
that's a one that we come across our office, and we asked actually one that I know the lender denied the loan on because they said we were too high. Because we kind of dug into it in our office, and I probably came to the realization that you probably sound like you agree with is some of these homes they were damaged by tornadoes, awful, but they were basically rebuilt homes. They were nicer, better, more custom-built homes because they went back and it wasn't built by the mass production. They had somebody come in and basically build a new home and redo it, and they're a lot nicer than the original homes that were over there. So you're kind of having a bifurcating of the market over there, where all of a sudden there are tornado homes and non-tornado. Great. Like I come out there, I pick up on it, we do that. The problem is you get somebody who's not aware that happened because it didn't happen last year. A few years back now. It's kind of old news. People forget. Same thing happened over here at Far North Dallas. You know, we had a tornado that was right through off of the buffers over there, I think, or forest. Same idea. It's tough, and that's where an agent, you really have to get super involved, and that's when you probably need to meet at the house and say, hey, this is a tornado damaged home, it was rebuilt, this, whatever, by this person, the construction budget was this, these are comparable homes that were tornado damaged and have the same quality of finishes, these are the best sales, and that's why. And you're gonna see these sales over here, and yeah, they're the same size, same age, same everything, but I'm telling you, if you look at them, they were the original homes that were built by Lennar, you know, whoever, these are not. You know, these effective age are 5-year-old homes, but those over there are effective age 25.
And all that ammunition together
And
and
that-
the subdivision that was unaffected was retaining value and.
Yeah, and I think that's when you do that. You do that same group thing I was talking to her about. You know, you do that same thing, tornado home. Now, obviously, here's the key with that: is how do you verify it? How are you going to show the appraiser these are truly tornado damage homes and these weren't? You're going to need to make sure you have your ducks in a row. How you verify that information? There you go. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, I did one in the Dallas run over there, and I did that exact same thing. I put the overlay on my location map of where the tornado ran. These were the homes that were affected. That's why because they asked me why did I pick comps that were 2.5 miles west when there was comps 4 blocks north. And it's like, I know, tornado didn't hit 4 blocks north. That block's unaffected. This whole run here, all equally affected. So yeah, it's something where you're going to have to go in there and make sure you're educating your appraiser. You may offend somebody. Again, not your problem. Your job is clients to ensure best interest. I don't care about appraiser feelings ever. That's my problem, you know. So for you, I would do that. That's one where I would probably tell showing time that an appraisal appointment gets scheduled for you and you meet out there and make sure that they understand and listen and take the information, because it's really easy to just leave a packet. And I'm going to tell you this is bad, but there are appraisers, some of the appraiser groups that I'm in on Facebook and all that, who are like, oh, I got a packet goes in the trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you really, I mean, read it. Our obligation is, and I had an agent reach out to me just 2 nights ago, said, hey, I had an appraiser tell me it's illegal for me to provide that information. And I was like, oh wow, that's scary, you know, like, ask them what law do you break. And then, like, there's not a response, there is no law. So at the end of the day, I was like, now go tell them that they're actually, UPAT, which is our ethics standard, says we are obligated to review any and all relevant information and as how it applies to the subject property and the analysis. Well, how do I know if it's relevant or not? So I would make sure, and honestly, I would probably take the extra step of not only submitting it to the appraiser, I would also fire that to the lender too. Say, hey, make sure this gets to the appraiser, because I think this is huge for this deal. And if somebody's not confident on this, then we need to get a different appraiser. Because then at that point, if the appraiser gets something from the lender and doesn't look at it, there's a different set of rules.
Well, the
So,
lender doesn't call the first night, the appraiser said, you know, we found out after the
Yeah.
appraisal was done and the fee was there.
yeah.
And he was appraised with Southwood.
Mhm.
That came away and probably.
Which again, and I'll say this, is if I'm again, I'm going to talk both sides of my mouth for a quick second. I have no problem with appraiser trying to South Lake with Wiley, should they want to make that fit. If he wants to be the Wiley expert, but yeah, wants to live in South Lake, good for him. But he better be the expert. So if you're going to make that drive in itself is not the problem. The obvious is he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He didn't know the market. He didn't know what happened in Wiley, because Wiley's a whole other world himself. Just like the other whole other world. You know what I mean? So I would kind of hit that real quick. It doesn't matter if it came from South Lake, but that's not the reason he messed up. He messed up because he didn't study that. So that's really the same thing.
How do you guys get a job? Walk us through with that process.
Yeah.
How do you get that? How does an appraiser from Westport work end up appraising my house?
Great. And honestly, you're gonna let me get on soapbox here. So knock me back down. Knock me back down off it if you want to. I'm gonna close out that screen. That doesn't matter anymore. Okay. So in a perfect world, the way it used to be, I would have a relationship with the bankers and lenders around, and they would say, God, Matt's a little Dallas, he knows the area, he does these profit reports, and I said, he deals. Well, I carved out a great business out of it. 2008 happens, Frank goes into place, they empower what's called appraisal management companies, or AMCs. Say AMC to an appraiser, you might as well have insulted their mother. It's really bad word. Nobody likes it. Imagine if you had a third-party company between you and your broker, or you and your brokerage, and that third-party company dictated what leads, and or if somebody called and said, I want you to look at my property, and the management company between you and your broker said, yeah, but you know what? She'll do it cheaper over there. And they fired over to her, and you're like, what the hell is this? So anyway, that's the easy oversimplification of appraisal management companies, who are a third-party company between the appraiser and the lender. Their job was to manage the process. So they built these appraisal packets, which they did. And they then broadcast out. My watch is dinged about 100 times, at least 6 of them were, hey, I need a fee quote and turn time for the property to try and sell it next week. And like one of them, for instance, was a giant national bank, who I've actually recognized that. Because they've asked me to bid on it 6 times over the last 4 weeks. It's 120 miles from where we're sitting right now. I'm not going. I told them that, but I'm not answering. These management companies don't really add any value. They're for-profit companies. So you pay an appraisal fee, or you don't pay an appraisal fee. Your borrower pays an appraisal fee. The $600 fee, let's say. The $600 fee, $200, $250 of it goes to the management company. Your appraiser makes you $300, $350. Kind of be mindful of this, because again, this is probably a lot of the reason why some of the appraisers out there sell. Because like I have my firm, and we don't work with these management companies. We work with local lenders directly. And again, if a lender tells you we have to use an AMC, you've been lied to. Nothing requires their usage. It's a business choice. It's a good business choice, because they don't have to employ an appraisal desk and this person, that person, and pay 4 people's salaries. I get it. It should be separated out in closing disclosures, but we have appraisers can't get that slap pushed as much as we try. Hopefully NAR will see that in one day. But you have somebody out there. So it's like you get some of these companies that have teams of appraisers to work for them. And now you get a percentage of a percentage. You've got 100, 350, he might be making 50% of that. got a guy make $150, $175 for the appraisal report. You can do the math of how many you have to make a good living. You can do the math of how much time there is in a day and a week, and how much good time and devoted energy is going to your appraisal report. So it's what it is. AMCs they're losing their power. They're gonna pivot to be national appraisal companies, which is a whole different issue. But yeah, that's how we get our work. Most appraisers are gonna deal with local or management agents and get management companies to get that, or companies like mine where we specialize having direct relationship with local lenders. It's why I do a lot of this type of stuff. Obviously, I see if I can add value to y'all business, you like me, you refer me to someone else. I can get work in a different set of ways. My business is not built on all the work. We do estates, we do divorces, we do bankruptcy. I mean, you name it. We do expert witness work. There's a lot of different ways to get work, but your predominant appraiser is going to be appraisers, agencies, broadcasting, or they'll either do it the fastest or the cheapest. So I'm sure that has anyone here had a
That you should be asking as an agent, should I be asking my lender?
I think so. So I mean, right now, I mean, what is this? You all typically, I mean, going over 30 days, is that a long time? From contract to close?
Yeah.
Long time, right? Okay. 20 days? Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
So we're probably what, 14 to 21 is the sweet spot where you want it, where some of these deals want to go. Okay. So you get companies that are just broadcasting out to do it faster and cheaper. So faster, I'm a big proponent of fast, cheap, and good. Pick two, that old nonsense. So I get calls of, God, appraisal fees are ridiculous. Like, they pay $1,500 for an appraisal fee. So my answer was, how hard is it, or how fast do you need? Well, you need it back in 2 days. He dropped everything to get y'all taken care of. That's actually a pretty good deal if you ask me. So the appraisal management companies, they don't help. They FHFA did a study. They elongate the process. They make it more expensive. There's no benefit to the buyer for an appraisal management company aside from the lenders who don't have a book of business in an area. So if you're a lender in Laredo trying to do something in Dallas, you don't have a relationship here, so you have to ask for the fund. But Dallas lenders should not be having to do that. So I think it's something to ask. Again, appraisals right now, there's a big push that there's a shortage of appraisers. There is to a degree. The average age of an appraiser, I think it might be over 60 now. I mean, it's pushed high. It's a growing industry for sure. It's not easy to train. We don't have a filter model like agents have, where we can just build our team and train. An appraiser has to train for 2 years underneath a certified appraiser, and then after they train for 2 years, they get certified, and then most lenders won't take their work for another year to 3 years. A lot of times, it could be a 5-year build up to make a decent living. And gosh, then for me to train one-on-one, because most appraisers work in solo shops, for me to train one-on-one makes me slower, makes me less efficient. I either get you to work for free, or I keep training you to work, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help. Now, a lot of these AMCs too don't allow for appraisers to use training. So training a lot of times sounds like a bad word. I'm sure if you're an agent, oh my gosh, just sending somebody out there doesn't know what they're doing. You got to kind of think of a trainee as almost like a salesperson who's a broker. Certified appraiser, I would be a broker. I would train my trainees to be confident to go out there. It's a really bad word. They probably should call it associate appraiser or something silly like that. But a lot of these AMCs don't let appraisers use training to go to the site inspection. But I have to go out there to the property. It just makes the property more expensive and makes it slower, and ultimately then makes the AMCs try to justify their existence. But yeah, I would definitely recommend lending local. I would recommend direct appraisal panels. It could be a NASDAQ or bank as long as they have local relationships. But they're throwing it out to your major agency. I'd be real concerned about that as far as timeline and quality of reports and stuff like that.
Excuse me. Can you speak a little bit to the certain things that appraisers look for when appraising for FHA and VA?
Yeah, okay, so I'm on the VA panel. FHA and VA are not as different as often portrayed. I will tell you this is, I think a lot of FHA appraisers are a little too strict and a little too, I don't want to say strict, but I think that sometimes they go too far for what the guidelines actually say. So the HUD handbook 4000.1, you can go read the appraisal section anytime you want. It's out there, public information, and you can read line by line all the fun guidelines that the appraisal has to have, or, it's not a good read, so I don't recommend it, but they have to go for it. The biggest thing is going to be on exterior paint, or any chipping paint. If the house is built prior to 1978, this lead-based paint concern, FHA and DA don't agree that that's probably not good for little John and Sally and paint chips that have lead in them. So regardless of the age of when the house is actually painted, so it's built prior to 1978, it has any chipping, scaling, flaking, or eroding paint. At that point, it has to be spray painted and redone. I will tell you this, and I get yelled at by agents all the time. It's in all our fault. You get an FHA that's subject to the paint being sprayed and painted. Hire a painter who puts the golf ball down and picks up the paint chips, because it says in the FHA handbook as well that if you spray all this paint and paint it, but you leave all the paint chips on the ground, it still doesn't pass anymore. So then you're asking somebody to go out there with a vacuum cleaner and vacuum the outside of the house, which is not my job. I'm not doing it. So just make sure, and that's something that's made kind of make sure, hey, everybody wants to go hire a painter that's cheap and fast, and that's great, but if he doesn't have a drop cloth, he's going to pay for it anyway. So paint's the biggest thing. But that's honestly, if you read the conventional guidelines, it's not that far off. The only conventional doesn't put in that 1978 barrier, the hard stop, but all three of them say that any kind of potential for water intrusion from the outside is a concern. So you start looking at eroding, wood siding. You got to kind of ask about that. The biggest thing I see on FHA that's not true is like the please have the seller install GFCI in the kitchen. I really want to know the appraiser who went to check to see if that was actually grounded anywhere, because just because the GFCI is not in the kitchen doesn't mean it's not grounded. I've talked to a few electricians, just because the GFCI is there doesn't mean it is grounded, just because it's not there doesn't mean it's not grounded. So I don't know why appraisers play electricians, but that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions. Handrails, anything, typically the old rule was 3 steps, it's really 30 inches, but that's not an FHA thing, that's actually an international building code type thing. And then does that city municipality buy into it? So FHA will default to local code. So always kind of remember that. So if it looks like a safety hazard, so appraisers are, would be past any health and safety concerns with FHA and VA. Again, you want to protect the veterans, they want to protect the FHA buyers. So you want anything that looks concerning, think about it, take a picture of it, call your friendly appraiser and ask them, I think this is going to be an issue. If you have an upstairs, a balcony, better have a banister or a railing, it better meet the local building code. Again, in Mesquite, maybe different than Garland, maybe different than Richardson and Dallas. In there, here it may be 6 inches, and that's why it's hard to give these blanket answers. But FHA just says, is there basic health and safety concern? This is just weird things like proximity to gas tanks, gas stations, and stuff. But that doesn't apply to stuff over here. The biggest thing for y'all is, hey, if there's major settlement, that's going to come up. Handrails. So again, you get a staircase, there needs to be a handrail or something. Imagine, your granny's going down the steps and she goes tumbling. What is she going to grab onto? What is little 2-year-old Timmy going to grab onto when he goes falling? It's kind of look at your house as if it's somebody very elderly or very young going through it, and is there any major concern? Kind of the oversimplification, but paint is the biggest one. It's that 1978 number. Foundations will probably come up that. I think appraisers will tend to be a little bit more likely to dig for a foundation inspection. Rather than I don't support that aside from the I see it all the time. Any kind of water change, like you have a nice brown water change. I want to get that looked at because your friends made policy because it's exactly leaking. And I cannot tell you how many buyers, sellers tell me, oh gosh, well, no, we fixed the leak. We just didn't fix it from staying here. It's a fix. It's like, that's great. We're gonna find out when looks at it, because I can't make that assumption, But those are really the big ones. It's not a lot there that's different, to be honest. That's more VA. VA does not like. So VA doesn't like any shrubbery touching the house. And again, you get 10 different VA appraisers, and I guarantee you they're not all 10 call. I don't like it. Sit there and tell somebody that they have one college which is still plan to in the house and sit there and go down there with some little hack 6-inch run. Gosh. So yeah, it does come up, and I will say that's probably one of the ones who actually read the guidelines for VA, they're right. I have to double check. I don't really do much at FHA these days, but I have to double check to see if that's still in there. I know it's in there for VA. I don't think most VA appraisals forget the call for it, to be honest with you. Because most housing customers kind of struggle touching it, to be honest with you, starting older. But yeah, that's when it comes up. Also keep in mind with FHA, if there's a workshop or storage or a shed, if the house is perfect, beautiful paint, all that, that old storage shed has some really chipping, awful looking paint, that counts too. And it has to be repaired or removed. So I can't think how many times I have people like, oh, I'm not gonna repair this shed, I'm just gonna bulldoze it and get it out of here. Because we're not slowing the deal down for a 8x8 storage shed that's 25 years old. It also goes to the fence. On the rare neighborhood that painted the fence versus staining it, I had one in Bill Carrollton, and they didn't. I wasn't on their Christmas card list. I don't think anymore, but they painted the fence white, and it was awful. And it ended up being they had to go out there trying to power wash it off. Couldn't do it. They ended up tearing the fence down, putting the new fence down. And I felt terrible. That was never what I wanted to do, but I was like, the guideline is what it is. So yeah, it's kind of that's probably the biggest thing I see forgot is, oh gosh, like, the house is great, and then don't forget any structure on wall. So kind of think about that. That kind of goes for decks, wood pot on decks. You got a lot of times, oh, there's that little side deck we never use. Just kind of sits back there, but it's all rotted out. And again, it doesn't have to be fixed. It can be removed, but something to think about. So I will never be able to check whether it has lead-based paint in there. Again, if it's built prior to 1978. Oh, here, you got some questions out here? Yeah, okay. Yes. So there's no way to test. I mean, there's no way to ask an appraiser to test for it to make it, health professional to do that. I just say yes or no is built before 78. Yes or no, there's a effective feature. So it's either there or it's not. So this is where I say you take that listing and you're going out there and you see all that negative paint. You're like, hey, you can do one of two things. You can not accept FHA buyers. Again, I don't think that totally gets you around it. I just think some potential guys are going to dig it too. You get it fixed now, or hey, this deck, I really care. No one's going to pay up. Get that out of here now and not have the issue at all. Somebody asked about concrete floors in FHA. Floor covering for cosmetic does not have to get repaired. So it's no. So it used to be way back before concrete floors became kind of and all that kind of stuff. That was, oh my God, we ripped it up. That's the subfloor. It's a trip hazard. If a little 1-inch difference in floor is a trip hazard, then I don't think we can get funding on any kind of house because I can find trip hazards. There's a roof going across the front yard, a tree that's over an inch. Honestly, you're going to step riser. On that floor on both sides. There's nothing wrong with having stained floors. Now, there's two aspects there. So the concrete floors are allowed, they're permissible, we'll pass FHA. If tax strips are there, there's a safety issue because of the sharp little thing that will get will fall and bug their eye out. If they're not finished, you have a marketability issue. Will a house with just exposed concrete subfloor that has cracks and doesn't look pretty and is uneven and all that hasn't been floated, or it has floated with like 14 different colors, and that's a marketability issue. It's not a value issue. It's not a health and safety concern. So concrete floors are absolutely allowed.
Talk about pools.
Yeah. What do you want to know about pools?
Back in the day, it was 12,000 for a pool and 3,000 for a spa, and now a basic pool is like $65,000, $70,000. Talk about that and talk about arbors and outdoor living.
Yep. Okay, so pools. I will never be the guy to say pools are worth this because it goes every single neighborhood different. Price range to price range. It's neighborhood to neighborhood. So I always like to throw this rule out. It used to be an old rule, and a lot of official rule in Fannie Mae came out and said stop doing this, but there used to be an old underwriting guideline, and a single adjustment can't be more than 10% of selling price. So the house was $40,000, $400,000. It was hard to justify making an adjustment like $40,000. I'm not going to tell you that pool will stop there, but that sometimes is where some appraisals are going to max themselves out around 10%. What do you think about Pools, it all depends on what methodology you want to go to support your adjustment. You go like appreciated cost. A pool can, on a typical $400,000 home, can be anywhere from 30 to 70 grand. It really depends on the market, depends on the price range. You have to ask yourself too. The house is a $500,000 house. And somebody paid 20% more for the pool, probably not. There's a lot. So $100,000 we can apply. You got to kind of think about what's in reason there. If I kind of throw that 10% number at you a little bit.
Does it help to tell you how much it costs?
It helps as far as me kind of keeping.
Maybe at least get me to the max you'll do?
No, I mean, that's not going to guide anything there. The biggest thing you want to look at for pool would be that group kind of data on her report. You really want to go compare pool sales to non-pool sales.
Right.
Like properties sold recently about the same time, and really say, hey, what's the good price per foot? What's the good price? What's the average price? That's one of the biggest ways you can prove it easily. Like I have a regression model that we do. We do appreciated cost. We do a lot much longer, application to try to prove that type of stuff. So that's it. If you typical pool in a normal neighborhood is usually runs anywhere 15 to 40 is probably the most comparable price range. I won't play a little die by that. I won't play the flight DNAs. Kind of stuff, but they're definitely marketable. They definitely are driving value probably more so than they have in a long time. But post-COVID, everybody's home more. Outdoor amenities are kind of tied into the rest of your question too. The outdoor loggia or whatever you want to call them, or the living areas, the floor, the room, whatever the fancy word calling the outdoor living area. They're big. Outdoor kitchens are big. You're definitely going to push. What we wanted to look at is, I think you get lost too much in saying, hey, we have an outdoor kitchen. I have to find the exact same comp with an outdoor kitchen that has a green egg, a pizza stove, and this, that, and the next thing. And I want it. They look awesome, but you're not going to find the same one. Everybody does it a little bit different. I had one that had a walk thing. It was so cool. But, so you want to kind of think of what's competitive. So what are competitive outdoor living areas? It kind of falls in the comp collection. So saying, hey, the comp has the best outdoor amenities. That's why we picked those. Or you kind of say these happen to sell higher. So we made the assumption that house would. Kind of switch gears real quick. The question is, think of adjustments qualitatively, not quantitatively. You get so lost in pools are 12 plus 350, pools are 40, pools are this, whatever. And I think we get really lost in the weeds of a pool has this much value versus saying, hey, qualitatively, houses with pools sell more than houses without pools. True or false? You gotta find that out in your neighborhood first. Go to certain neighborhoods. I'll tell you, we didn't pull the trigger on it. I had data on one report that showed that pools were a negative adjustment. They were actually bad or negative. And it was negative, the price point, it just didn't make sense. The price point in a conditioned neighborhood that just didn't support the maintenance of a pool. And at the end of the day, the pool was nothing. It was probably worth the cost of it. But most people in that area were also tied into all of it. You want to prove that first premises. Do the house with pool sell more than yes. Okay. Well then ideally go find 4 sales houses. Then don't have to worry about pool work.
Right.
Now, perfect world doesn't exist. So you say, okay, let me find 4 sales, 2 with pools, 2 without. And I put them and I adjust them out of my CMA and I find out the 2 with pools. They're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand higher. But I've accounted for everything else I felt comfortable accounting for. Okay. It's just not rational, it's not reasonable and rational at that point. The pool is different. And then as long as there's something you're doing rational and reasonable, you've done nothing wrong. If you just say, hey, 10 years ago, the last appraiser told me on this adjustment sheet is $15,000, I did $15,000, and then you get turned in to the state and they look at your CMA and you say, well, I just want what that, then you're in trouble because how do you justify that makes sense? But if you kind of say, hey, I talked to the appraiser, he told me kind of, what I just told you as far as looking at it after you make all your adjustments, called sensitivity. At the end of the day, the only thing I didn't account for, if I felt good about everything else, attributed this range, reasonable, and that for a lot of appraisers as well. You got a question for everyone.
Yeah, so rebuilds.
Yeah.
You touched on it earlier, but it's very interesting since they're not in the homeless. Some buyers are looking at the house. They want the brand new toilet that have the best way to get that.
So if the appraiser is doing their job properly, they should be doing it. Definitely they're subject to it. So if you get a Highland home, you should be calling the Highland home sales rep and saying, hey, what do you got? There's a risk in that. A lot of sales reps will say, hey, here are the 2 highest and best sales that sold. And then I usually follow up, I only sold 2 homes this year. Brutal. Well, no, he sold 50. What are the other 40? I love to look at the whole list. So, we'll go to the builder. Now, if you get builder sales, you have to have closing. You have to prove that they actually closed. I have to verify parts of these, what. So the information that we will typically go back and ask the builder is, what do you have to close? They're going to give me. I'm going to then follow it up with any of my plans. So I want to know that our plans. And they'll say, oh, well, I didn't give you that one because it sold 6 months ago. Market conditions, easiest adjustment for me to prove. I can tell you what the market did over the last 6 months. Fun to go run numbers. Just right there, we look back. Looking forward to a whole other story. I think they're going to be worth 6 months. I have no idea. But 6 months ago, I can tell you exactly what they've done. So I'll get that floor plan. Then when you have this most recent in your neighborhood that you need to be, for each of those properties, I need the closing disclosure. I need to know what floor plan it is. I really want to see the builder give me the floor plan. I want to know, did they use the medium room option, use the day room option, because a lot of times county records say it's 3,200 square feet. And then we find out somebody has a 400 square foot medium room on the garage, it's really 3,600 square feet. The county doesn't know about it yet. That's the kind of stuff I want to know. Upgrades and change orders. Again, cost doesn't equal value, but sometimes you can preference because again, they're charging you for the upgrades. So all of a sudden, $40,000 upgrade costs me $40,000. They have to prove the market reacted to it. And we see it all the time. People put $120,000 upgrade, they get $50,000 value. I can prove that. But sometimes it is dollar for dollar. Sometimes it's even more than dollar for dollar. Especially right now, I had one out in Wiley, which neighborhood it was, but they contracted on this house 14 months ago. Did a whole bunch of upgrades, like $50,000, $60,000 of upgrades. 14 months is done damn good in Wiley, and all of a sudden I'm appraising this thing 65 grand over their contract price. They look for the builder, the supplier. So in that case, I think I say it, obviously pay more than. But yeah, those are the big things, and then any kind of lot premiums are good to know. Builders are really sneaky about double dipping on lot premiums. So it's like, hey, you paid for the larger site, and then we got you a lot premium for a corner lot. Like, corner lot, you can pick a lot. I don't know, it's but I can argue how whether corner lots have to be valid or not. But those are the big things. Big things you see. Know that you've built. So in a new construction neighborhood, a VA, for instance, they want to see one sale by your builder, one sale by a competitive competing builder, and one sale that's pre-owned, because they want to show that after this is. And I get this all the time. Oh my God, the appraiser used a pre-owned sale. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's new. I say, no, the lender wants, again, the lender's looking at this as your buyer doesn't pay the builder back. You have now to sell a pre-owned. I don't get to sell it new. And the builder wants to know, does this market establish? So you get the house that's the neighborhood is only 2 months into the growth process. Well, where is the other competing pre-owned? And how do they compete? Well, if they're 100 grand less, that's a problem. If the neighborhood that's 4 years old is 30 grand less, okay, that's reasonable. Condition differences, age differences. So think about that. So a lot of times, if there's four in our office, like that, I need one sale by our builder, I need one sale by a competing builder, I need one sale that's pre-owned, and then the next 2 or 3 that best that you think after that. And ideally, then you need more something that's verifiable and less in the neighborhood. Some lenders will not like a report that has small builders because if you give, let's say the PR board doesn't put small stuff in they give me that, and I put 3 sales, all from the builder, and 1 premium. And then lender's like, yeah, my problem is, I know what PR board wants us to know, I don't know what the whole market told us. But then Lennar has 10 sales in the market, but all 10 grand less, why do you think our home that are verifiable? Good question. You want to have a balance of what's verifiable by everybody, because builders unfortunately are facing for information they want you to have. I can assure you think buyers, because they don't tell you about how they gave away for far less. It happens. Like there's a bunch of neighbors on the prison right now, the LGI, they pre-sold all of them back in like January. I think it's one of the biggest regrets they've ever done. They're worth 30, 40 grand more than they're contracted for, and they pre-sold the whole neighborhood out to investors. Nothing else, but yeah, new construction is interesting. It's tough. A lot of appraisals don't like it for that reason. Builders also really like the surcharge at elevator, which the lumber cost went up. See those prices went back down and lumber went back down. Kind of funny how that works, but.
What about the condition of a pool? So interestingly enough, assumed that the appraisal was not going to meet value.
Yeah.
The seller like made us agree to order it by
Yeah.
like day 3
Mhm.
of our executed contract. The pool is disgusting.
Mhm.
So someone stole all the equipment.
Yep.
And it's green. I mean, it's dark, dark green. Like you can't even see the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So we've gotten some estimates for it, but anyway,
So-
it's a negotiation. But the appraiser, I mean, included pictures of that nasty pool and all the other things. And we still came in above value. And in my opinion, when I looked at the comps, the house was priced high to
Yeah.
begin.
So you're going kind of, we're talking about the whole AMC game and all that kind of stuff. You get some appraisers who feel very beholden to make deals work, and but sometimes that's good, but probably not good for your situation there. Typically mechanical systems have to be operational, and pool equipment would fall under mechanical systems. So I'm kind of shocked that got through, to be honest with you. None of my lenders that I work with would have allowed that to get through with inoperable pool equipment. So that would have really precluded some financing opportunities. So I'm kind of shocked to hear that got through. Could you get into if pool equipment's not working, if pool's not staying adequately maintained on volume of water, that becomes a drop hazard, and a little kid who runs into an empty pool and breaks their neck. Be a pretty cool skate park, but that's not what it's marketed as. Then you also get into health and safety concerns with algae, and obviously you have a lot of cities. There are certain cities that will really fine the heck out of people because of mosquito concerns and West Nile and all that. So I'm a little surprised on that, to be honest with you. Most of my clients, the electricity has to be on, the water has to be on, the pool equipment has to be operational. Just remind me something about the FHA. FHA, if appliances are present at the house, they must be operational. So, sorry, I didn't mean to switch gears.
No.
So think about a slide-in range. Nothing says a slide-in range has to be there, but if it's there, it has to work. So you can take from that what you want as far as if the range doesn't work. You might want to think about getting that out of there before the appraiser comes, because they're going to buy it. If they don't plan on repairing it, if they're going to repair it, I'd probably get it done before the appraiser comes out. But mechanical systems and appliances all have to be operational. So,
Question. So what's the difference between, say, a pebble tech pool and hydroglass like tube when you price a house?
Good. So here's again, that ties into some of my MLS problems. Gosh, sure would be good to know and just track that and understand. What's MLS? I mean, but 90% of pools in there are in-ground gunite. Occasionally, somebody actually marked it vinyl appropriately, and there's a random above ground. But yeah, I don't know. That's tough. You have to data track it. So you kind of get into, again, going qualitatively on it and say, okay, like, this is a superior pool for that. Because again, pools also tie into what about all the surroundings around it? What about all the landscape? What about all the rock and masonry work? All that obviously all has value, but it's hard to look at comp and tell you, and then you can go through pictures and I can do pair sales analysis all day, which we try to do, but try to find two properties that are exactly the same, with the only difference being the quality of pool that they have. That's a journey we may never get to the end of. So I wish I could tell you there's a really good answer to that. You have to kind of look at cost and go and think like that points ahead. This is the nicest pool in the neighborhood. My value is between 650 and 675, depending if that's one store out there. I'm going to reconcile the higher end of my range. I think that's rational way to handle it. To expect a plus $10,000 because this is a better pool. Yes.
How do you handle a situation where, for example, somebody has upgraded the bathroom, spent $20, $30, $3 but they really top, they spent $50 or $60. They put a new floor in, that's $50. They put all kinds of electrical stuff in their commodes. What do you do with it?
So you have a word that's sometimes a bad word because it's really going to mess up your financing opportunities is over improvement. The bottom of the 1004 form or the URAR, the appraisal form you most commonly see for any kind of single family property. The second to last line on the bottom, the second to last question on the bottom says, does the property conform to the market? That's the problem. If the property does not conform, lender doesn't want to make a loan. Because again, it's all about liquidating it later. Liquidating the non-conforming property is a problem because there's limited buyers for it. You get that house that is the over improvement. There's an out on it. You have over improvement. Over improvement to me more is we built the 6,000 square foot, 3-story house in a neighborhood of 1,200 square foot branch. Somebody did something they shouldn't have done. You tell me a house with much nicer bathrooms than the rest of them, that's not an over improvement to me. That's what they call a super adequacy. So the super adequacy is not going to mess up your finances. It's not going to mess up that. What it's going to mess up is going to create a different form of obsolescence in the sense of cost doesn't equal value here. You know, you get a $120,000 kitchen and it's awesome, but it's only going to end up value. Sadly, somebody donated some money to the next buyer. So it does factor into your comp selection. It does factor into your comp selection. It does factor into your reconciliation. But at the end of the day, the market's only going to bear so much in certain neighborhoods. You know, you could take a $100,000 house, put a $100,000 kitchen in, you're probably going to say it was a bad choice. You know, you go take a $400,000 house, put a $75,000 kitchen in, well, you might get every penny back. It all depends. So, yeah, that one's tough. You know, super adequacy doesn't make sense. It makes it challenging. The hard ones to list and the hard ones to appraise for sure. Yes.
What about gate?
Yeah, gate is another one. You know, group. You know, that's where you start your running your neighborhood first. You know, if you're in a gated neighborhood, and then gated versus guarded, I can argue that. You know, whether some people prefer to actually have a live guard there, but then you have certain neighborhoods that are going away from the live guards. You got to put automated television with a scam fee also too. I had to scan your driver's license in, and you know, wait 3 minutes for someone to call you back and tell you that it's okay to go in and check your email and all that fun stuff. But there definitely could. I've often been able to support an adjustment for gated versus guarded, but then you also have to kind of really start being mindful of this is where you have to be an expert in your neighborhood. The appraiser has to do the same thing. Is not every gated neighborhood has gates that work. Every gated neighborhood we pull up to the gates open all day because you know, it's a contractor gate. That kind of defeats the purpose of the gate. It's open all day, but that's just it wasn't closed at 8 o'clock at night. Okay, so if you want to rob houses, do it during the day. Don't do it in the evening. So yeah, it definitely can be a valuable marketability difference. You've got to do research, group pair it in a good way, compare that gated neighborhood to non-gated neighborhood, and kind of see what the benefit price is.
Do y'all have kind of an adjustment or like not necessarily a set, but a guideline for like an eyesore? So like power lines, if a property, if there's a community that, you know, some of the house backs, yeah.
A standard adjustment, no, because that's what's called external obsolescence, and it's incurable. So again, I can't make the power lines go away. I can never cure this problem. But if the expense you want, they're still going to be there. If they're in a fall zone, they're in a fall zone, whatever it may be. Although they don't really exist because they just collapse straight down. But some lenders do the real thing. So what you want to look at there is when you get external obsolescence, if you're doing your CMA, you really need to mindful that most of your comps in your CMA have some kind of competing external. So you start saying, oh gosh, like we back to LBJ. I sure hope your CMA has every sale that's sold and sold it back to LBJ over there, because you're going to have the possibility time of saying that external obsolescence was X amount of dollars. I can take that back with the house across the street sells from the other one that sold. Well, now you can prove, okay, that one sold 50 grand higher than this one. LBJ was a 50. The thing about like different externals is what is it? Is it the straight location that is next to behind LBJ? Is it the noise that's associated with LBJ? Because 3 blocks in may have the same noise. No one can really know that. Is it the water tower? Is it that the water tower is right behind me and it's just right there? Or is it because I can see it? Well, I can see it 7 blocks away. So you get into external, and that's where you really need to try to find sales, or have the same views, have the same locations. That doesn't mean you can't use other sales, but they need to be your supportive sales. So if you're going to have 6 sales in there, you need to have 4 that have external and 2 that are more than supportive, and then kind of reconcile from there. But I definitely think external is one of the #1 things I see on CMAs and other appraisal reports that gets ignored, and it's the #1 thing that lenders will go back for buybacks later and start suing the hell out of everybody that they can. Because if it wasn't, you go and the appraiser does the valuation, it doesn't mention the external obsolescence, the lender didn't know about it. The lender has to buy his loan back. Who are they going after? The guy who didn't tell them. Then the buyer says, I'm going to overpay for this house. You're going to blame the appraiser, who else are they going to blame? The person who helped them buy the house. So be mindful of that. That's a big deal. And I think it's one of the most.
Do you have an adjustment sheet?
I am not.
Make it easy for us, man.
So,
I don't
here,
wanna have to pay.
again, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you. So if you go onto Candy Cook's website, you know, if you're not on, so I'm not gonna use Candy Cook as my scapegoat because I'm not gonna provide this list, but if you go to her Facebook group, Cook Real Estate, COOKE apostrophe D, I believe, you'll actually see me comment in there. I help out and do a little bit there, but in her attachments, under one of her CMA docs, is a list of sample adjustments and some guidelines. I will let you defer on an educator who teaches CMAs, and as her list, I won't, as an appraiser, don't feel like I might get myself in a little bit of trouble if I put that out.
So I teach that class, so that I can give it to
I have no problem. I mean, for me, as an appraiser, my risk as an appraiser is it must be built on analysis for the specific problem. So if I put out a generic list, I have to feel really good that I am. Now, I could absolutely go do an analysis for the DFW gray area and tell you what these adjustments are. I don't think it'd help you because every market, every little neighborhood is not going to work. I think what's required of y'all on CMA, that is something. Perfect. You're asked to basically be an appraiser, but also the application code tells you cannot be an appraiser. So, like, I don't get it, to be honest. Require a CMA to then tell you that you're not qualified. You can't say value. So I have no problem with y'all sharing it, teaching the class. I do think as long as there are safeguards in place of knowing it's not a one-size-fits-all, it won't work all the time. It's why we do a lot of pre-listings.
So my crazy, what I've heard a lot of today is start with common sense and back it up with data.
Honestly, at the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. Okay. I mean, again, like, I get it all the time. Like, I'm not, gosh, appraisal are just opinions. Everyone's got one. It's worthless. To a degree, I 100% agree. You know what I mean? It's worth. My opinion is worthless to a buyer over here who doesn't agree with me. I get it. Like, at the end of the day, I have, just like y'all do, I have a set rules, guidelines, and expectations I have to do my job to keep myself licensed and make sure I keep paying the mortgage at home and I get that in place for me. That's it. At the end of the day, my opinion is wrong. Based on perspective, absolutely, all the time it's wrong. Someone's always not going to agree with me. So yeah, and that's what I try to explain to my trainees. I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, if you're absent of common sense and some kind of rationale, you haven't done your job. So the report should explain this. I should tell you, hey, I have a lot of good friends where I'll do reports and they're like, gosh, Matt, you missed this one. It's like, that's great. We agree to disagree. You're a professional, I'm a professional. You read the report. I told you why I feel this way. I don't care if you guys get something else to tell you something else and get the reveal done. My feelings won't be hurt. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. Just use common sense. And I honestly think a lot of appraisers don't use common sense, which is scary. Because a lot of appraisers are like, oh, nope. Like, you have to use this cell right here, sold around the block. Well, why? Why would I use that one? No one piece of data ever makes a market. It's a culmination of all the data. So yeah, it's probably the best implication of all of them.
Your contact information, I see.
Yeah, I put on the Zoom. I got cards here. Everyone can grab it. I like being. I mean, I'm not your typical appraiser. Case agent, that would be here. And I will tell you, most appraisers. But here, top secret information you already knew. Most appraisers hate agents. I don't know why. It's silly. At the end of the day, it's jealousy. You know what I mean? Like, appraisers are typically introverts by nature. It's the reason why we sit behind the desk and type on one quiet little important don't get time, versus being out there actually talking to other humans and all that kind of stuff. So,
Some days that sounds kind of.
yeah,
Humans are a little overrated sometimes. None of the agents I work with. I love them all.
So if I can help you along the way, reach out to me, my team. If you have a challenging CMA, and we'll do pre-listing work. I'll a lot of times tell you it's a waste of time, especially in the market right now. She's been offered to pay you an appraisal, and most times I'll probably tell you save your money, save your client's money. It's not worth it because the market students would want to do it anyway. But I might get to say, hey, treat your obligation with CMA and blah blah blah. One thing I do a lot of times is to spend a few minutes on the phone, like, hey, my eye goes to this. Now go down that path. I give you a gentle nudge of where the appraiser's eye is going to go. At the end of the day, I don't expect you all to CMA and sell properties at appraisal. That's not your objective of the transaction. Like, your objective is to do the best for your client. And if that means it's 50 grand over market value, 50 grand over appraised value, so be it. High five, cash the check, to celebrate with your seller and buy a bottle of champagne. I don't care. You know, at the end of the day, that's what your job is. But if I could be an assistance to y'all to go back to the seller, like, here's the deal. We're going to sell here. It's going to appraise here. How do we be ahead of all the nonsense that's going to come with this gap? And how do we prepare for it? Because at the end of the day, that gap's going to be there. Market value is not going to keep up with price. And that's why I'm very careful on using the word market value. And I'm very careful on using the term price, two very mutually exclusive things. So if I can help anyway, let me know.
I've got through a lot of appraiser classes. This is the first one I didn't want to fall asleep.
There you go. I did my job.
So do you do square footage?
Yes, we will measure homes. I mean, I like to measure homes, honestly, if we can get more of it, I hire someone to do that. Obviously, it's based on availability, where it's located. It's not our primary source of work, although if I can, other people might have helped me in different parts of town. But we're happy to do it. Just kind of let us know what you're looking for the square footage, as far as the number, you're looking for a full floor plan. And that's one thing, the square footage number to y'all is be really, really careful with county appraisals. This is going to come across as self-fit, but I just want you to know this is we've tracked it for 2 years in Dallas and Collin County. The typical house measured somewhere between 7 and 8% higher than the same average for county records and all those. And you can do the math on 7 or 8% bigger house. You turn out to be a not a guarantee. So yell at me the one less in the bigger and it comes in smaller. But use it right on this website, TaxNet USA. The tax like tax, net like the internet, and USA. You can buy credits on there. So in Realist, you obviously have the sketch a lot of times, like Dallas County has them in there, but a lot of other counties don't. TaxNet USA has all the old sketches that used to be in the county records before they purged all out for that stuff. It's behind a paywall. You have to buy like these credits. I think you can buy like 20 or 30 bucks at a time. It's like 4 credits, which is like, I think about $1 or something, $1.50 to buy a sketch. So you go to a house and you feel, gosh, this feels bigger than it. Pull that sketch up. Look at the picture of it. Look at what you walk through and say, yep, there's a room missing here. Then pay an appraiser to come in. Versus, I don't want you to go say, hey, if you take the house at 2,100 square feet, so I'll get a higher number, but it says it's 1,900, and then I come out there and tell you it's 1,900. Nothing feels crappier than taking someone's money and being like, hey, by the way, here's a useful piece of paper for you. So yeah, that's a good, starting off point. There's some of them in Realist that don't pay for the ones you don't need to. But yeah, I had one in Frisco one time that was, the house was 400 square feet bigger. The county didn't have the game room above the garage. The seller lost an L11 line, and somehow the buyer, they did, I think it was one of those proud moments of the house appraised like 50 grand high, and the buyer was super proud that they made 50 grand in the market where no one was making money. And then somehow the seller found out, and so the L11 line as a listing agent, misled and cost them money. And the listing agent, like, I didn't do anything wrong. I told you we were going to use the county. Like, at the end of the day, I don't know whatever came of it, but I know some people really threw a big fuss about it. So I don't know. It's one of those things. We're happy. Thank you all.
Ask you one more question.
Absolutely.
It was like a very specific one, so I wasn't going to ask it in front of, for everyone. So I have buyers who are moving here from another state, and they're trying to determine, so they're going to build a 3,000 square foot shop.
Okay.
Once they get here, and they went down to the county, to try to determine what that value, like what their added tax value is going to be, and they wouldn't tell us. They said that they don't have any.
They're only going to do their assessments once a year. So sadly enough, they're not going to know until they put out the tax obligation for the next year.
Right.
So
We're kind of there. I mean,
yeah, so you should.
we closed in November. Yeah, we
The new
closed.
number should be out there. Is it built already, or is it?
No.
That's the problem. Is it still? It won't be taxable next year.
So is there a way I can
best thing you can do.
A rough estimate?